it was such a big team that Dimitri just shared with us, wasn't it? It was very interesting. The next keynote session, I'm going to talk about the intersection between AI, creativity, and also entrepreneurship. So before I start it, I just want to ask you, how many of you here have been in the space of startup, or having a startup, involved in a startup? Wow. Wow. Wow, I can go down now. You don't have to hear from me. So what I'm going to share today is, maybe you have heard about it before, but let's see it from a different perspective. We have come from the future, and now we are going back to the present, here, where we are, and then we see, we look again in the present of any startup that we have, and see how it goes. So this is about me, a little bit about me. I'm in this area for about 20 years, doing a lot of work with the startup around the world, and just recently we are quite involved with work in the Mekong region. So this is the recent thing that we are doing, and we are very investing a lot in the young people, and because we know that the young people are very versatile and they are interested in a lot of new things. So there's a lot of potential, a lot of challenge. So if you are interested, let me know. So we have heard from Dimitri about future, the triangles. Wow, on the first day, I was so excited, and especially I heard from you. With my recent experience in the Mekong, and I heard from all of you guys, everything that you shared to us, that was great, and I was one of the participants as well in the workshop. It was super, super good, and very impressive. So we all know about AI. AI actually help us to do, Joe said about productivity, optimization, automation. Basically, we want to use AI for something good, right? For making things more efficient and have more time for ourselves, as we discussed. But then when we are applying AI, we have to think about how we can actually customize it for our own need. How we can think about the human in the environment. How do we have enough? Do we have enough capacity? Do we have enough knowledge to apply AI in our work? And do we have enough governance or understanding about ethical? And we have heard from a lot of the policymakers, Dr. Sai, Mr. Piaz, Mr. Pizan, and Bruno, and everyone else here. That was amazing. We learned a lot. A lot of things have been done here. So when I heard about your idea, my brain was thinking, oh, that's a lot of things. We can do a lot of here and there, but I'm not here. So you are the one who are actually going to do it. You are going to be on the ground and make it happen. So what we are going to do today, we are going to talk about innovation and digital transformation, humanity-centered design. I believe that you have heard about that, as I and George have talked about it yesterday and today. Design thinking. How many of you have done design thinking? That's quite a lot. So we are going to do it again today. And then customer user research, creative process, and user validation. So we know that when we talk about innovation, we are talking about we want to create something that people love, people desire. But we want to know that we do not just make a great product. We want to make sure it is viable business-wise, and then also from the point of view of technology, it is feasible to be implemented. But the most important two things, the newest thing actually, we have to think about sustainability. Is the technology, is the solution we are doing actually not wasting energy, not doing something bad for our environment. Do you know how much energy that is being used every time you use your ChatGPT? You know, that's a lot. Like read the report on that, and you will be very surprised. And then, what is the impact if we decide to use AI? What is the impact? Is the impact bigger than the sacrifice that we have to make? So that's a lot of things that we have to think, a lot of things that we have to consider when we want to say we want to use AI, when we say that we want to follow other people. So when we talk about designing a product, in the past we only think about user-centered design, user experience. We're creating something for one group of people. And but now, in this new era, maybe like a move forward future right now, we have to think about humanity, humanity. Like the humanity is more, we are talking about the context, we are talking about the environment, we are talking about the bigger scope of the solution that we create. So I'm going to ask you to do something a bit different. So do you see the card on your row? Yes? Okay. Can you get one card? Randomly, just one card. It can be one word, or it can be like a one picture card. Okay, just one, quickly. Otherwise we don't have time. And those who have the card, the yellow card, you have to find a person with the picture card. So come on, let's go. Get up. And then find one person, not 5 person. One yellow card and then one picture card. Okay, find a person. You guys can join, Josh. Okay, picture, okay. Alright, just find someone. No, doesn't need to be the same picture. Okay, just find. Okay, just find. Random. Okay, what is your card? And then, yes, okay, then you can get together. Okay, random. Yes, so find somebody with a card. Yes, you can be matched, okay? Look for, hi guys, I think there is a confusion here. If we are doing the AI implementation, it's going to be chaos, okay? So, he has a card, and what do you have? Okay, then you can go together. Okay, yeah, as is here said, very human. Find a person that you like, and then you have one card and one word. Okay, just do it. And then once you find the person, just go here, like find a space. Find a space, and I'll tell you what to do, okay? Come on, quickly. Okay, quickly, okay. Have you found anyone? Okay, just find, okay. Alright, okay, find a space right now, yes, good. Okay, whoever, okay. I did not think that it is so difficult to find a person. Okay, now, right, I assume everyone got a card of picture and got a card. Okay. Alright, one person, wow, this is nice. One person got a card. Can we listen, please? Because if not, we cannot go to the future. We just stuck here, okay? Okay, so you got a couple here, like one person with a card and one person with the bridge. Yeah? So what you need to do, it is we are thinking not literally, we are thinking metaphorically. Okay? So if you see a person like an Australian or maybe European, doesn't always have this. This can be person in Mekong region. It is human. It is child. It is whatever you can, your imagination. You can go anywhere, okay? And then this person got a picture of the what is the word here? Well, being a parent, okay? Right? So being a parent, and then a picture of two kids, okay? So if we think of metaphorically, what is the relationship of these two cards? Can you guess?
Yeah.
Cause of the result? So we are thinking, so I'll just give an example, okay? I'm thinking of a future kid who can go to school without the need of doing a uniform. And the parent doesn't have to be worried because the parent doesn't have to buy the uniform. Understand? Yeah? So that's the first step, okay? Can you do it now in 1 minute? Okay. You got to have a different guess, yes. Okay, 1 minute. 1 minute. What is your picture? Good? This is a very good one. Yes? What do you mean by the owner of the world? Very good. Wow, I see a lot of things going on here. Okay. 20 more seconds. 20 more seconds. Alright, stop everyone. Stop. Okay? Can we have everyone clap your hand, please? Okay, clap for yourself. Thank you. Okay, next task. Next task is I want you to relate your imagination. Whatever did you discuss, I did not know. I just heard from these people here. They are amazing. So relate that with whatever you discuss on Sunday with the Mekong region. If you so for example, I'll give you an example for your card, can I? Yeah, so this guy, can you show what card do you have? Do you want to share to us? Come here. Okay, what card do you have?
A couple of letters show ownership, and she got a picture of the sky.
Okay, so what's your interpretation?
Our expression, it means the word is ours. So
The word is ours, yes?
and we have to take care of the word because the word is ours.
So they are the owner of the universe, the protector of the universe, with the two cards that they have here. And then, yeah, that is good. And then what they are going to say, they are going to protect the world. Okay? Yeah? So the next task that they are going to do now, okay, now relate that imagination or your metaphorical interpretation with the Mekong region. What are you going to do with this? I'll give an example, okay? Yeah, I'll give an example, okay? So the example is like a Mekong region has a problem of blah blah blah. So I'm going to protect this as with my skill of blah 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 to do this blah blah blah. Yeah, okay? Okay, can we do it in 1 minute, please? 1 minute start now. Thank you so much. What is? Okay, very good. Yes. Okay. Did you get something? What did you get? Okay, everyone. Can we have your attention? 1 minute attention, okay? Did you find something interesting from your conversation? Yes? Can I ask someone to volunteer? You want to volunteer? Come on here. Can you grab the mic there? Okay, you got a 30-second pitch. Starting now.
Yeah, so what we got are, well, for the word, other people's thoughts or emotions, and then we got the picture of someone having struggles in terms of hiking, maybe. So from there, we felt that in terms of the Mekong Delta region problems, there are other countries, like for example Thailand, that might be quite progressive in terms of digital infrastructure, but for example for Laos, they don't have the basics. They still have some rural areas that are still catching up in order for them to jump to digitalization in general. So in terms of considering other people's thoughts or emotions, it's very important that while we consider best practices from other countries in the Mekong region, it's also important to set the local setting, on what are the local contexts that might be applicable to each other countries, and it's also important to also note that each country has different types of struggles. They vary different local contexts, so it's important to also manifest active listening and to also do a participatory level of approach.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much. Can we give them applause and give applause for yourself? And you may sit. Okay? So what are we going to do with that? Right. So thank you so much for participating in this activity. We have, okay, I literally have 10 minutes to uncover like a lot of things. That is usually I have to do it in 5 hours. Okay? So what I'm going to do, I'm going to be very quick, but I'm going to open for myself for any discussion with you guys during lunch, during break, during any time. If you have any question, want to share something, let me know. But give me 10 minutes to uncover a number of things. Okay, so 200% of attention. Okay? Yeah, alright. So, you have done something amazing. You identify the problems. Okay? So, when we are doing the process, we usually do like a step by step. That's what we are doing through waterfall. So, one part finish and go to the next one. But, we are also doing the one which is called agile process, where we do a lot of iteration. And why we do that? Because we know there are a lot of things uncertain. Yeah, and then that's why we have to do consultation. We have to talk to the people. And when we're talking about design thinking, the key thing, the first thing, how do you call that one? What is the first step here? Empathize. Empathize is not sympathize. Oh, the people in Mekong region, they don't have something to eat. Oh, the people in Mekong region, they don't have good clothes. No, that's sympathize. No, we have to think what they need. And you are on the point. Okay? And when we are doing design thinking, usually we just talk about the design when we ask the people. But when we are doing design thinking 2.0, we make sure the process, when we're designing, we have to involve the people. Do you remember, Dimitri, a picture of Lego with Mona Lisa? Yeah? So that actually reminds me of something, but I don't have the picture with me now. So Mona Lisa, it looks perfect, like in picture. But then, when it comes after several iterations, it becomes so blurred. And why is that? Because the next people, doing the process of development, and the next person did not consult, did not talk, so it becomes really, really bad. So that's something that we don't want to have. We have a good plan, but people, at the end, the result does not fulfill the needs of the one that we want to create it for. Oh, sorry. So the first part is about understanding. And then how do we understand? The easy part, no matter what ChatGPT says, we talk to people. And then we can use ChatGPT or any AI models to help us. So yesterday, we had a lot of discussion on how we can actually get the data from the internet, from the social media, and then process that using all the AI tools and to help us in our creative process. And then based on the data that we have to be sure who are we going to create this solution for. We have 5 countries of Mekong region. We cannot, every single countries are different. Start with what is the most needed. Okay, you got a lot of problems. Everyone here at least got 40 different problems. I have counted. Okay, so you need to collaborate. You need to think like which one of them we need to focus. It can be focusing start from the one country. It can start from all 5 countries with the most pressing problem. And then we have to know who we are going to develop the solution for. And then we use persona. When you are creating a persona, choose the primary persona, which means you need the data to decide. You cannot just create, oh, I'm going to create this solution for Anh Ha. Anh Ha is like the Vietnamese women who is doing this. No, even the persona is not real person. It is created based on the data. So how do we get all this data? We have to ask questions ourselves. We need to ask different kind of questions. So we have a technique called question formulation technique. I don't have time to discuss it right now, but basically it starts like this. You got 5 minutes. You know the problem that you are doing, and then in your brain, okay, this is a problem of the people like this, the elderly people in the Mekong region, for example. And then you start generating question within these 5 minutes. And using that question to ask question to the people, like the elderly people, that is your target user. But how can our life be easier? With the ChatGPT, Perplexity, Kimi. I know some of you like Kimi, right? Or Grok, or whatever it is. We do not have to spend so much time, go straight away on the field without knowing anything. We have all the data ready yet, the secondary data, and we go and then we learn, get better idea. So this is some idea, some of the questions you can ask. So once we know who is the person, then we started to think, what is the golden path? If we know this person is going to be the person we are going to create for, what is the ideal stage? Because we can start with the problem, that's what we are starting first, but then we also have to have a good, what is the future we want this person to be? And then we connect that with all the data that we have and then find the gap. And then we need to have a journey mapping. So that is more detailed. we need to understand how this person actually behaves this, what they see, what they do, how they talk. It's a lot of things. You cannot just say, okay, well, AI can create an app, which I will teach you today in 5 minutes, okay? But how can actually the solution actually answer the needs of the users if we do not know how they behave, how they do things? And then not just the users. We have created the elderly, for example. And then the elderly is not the only person. We need to remember that this elderly actually connected with the people, the granddaughters, parents, the caretaker. All these people need to be in your brain when you are designing for them. We need to make a plan. And then we come up to idea, what solution we want to create for them, okay? But when we create, you cannot just say, oh yes, I create something fantastic. You need to know how to measure what makes your product fantastic. There are methods that is very interesting that I use it a lot. It's called HEART. So HEART is happiness. How we can measure happiness? Engagement, how they engage in the product that we have. Would they adopt the product or they don't care? Retention, will they stay there or they just download it and then go away? And then if they do that, will they be successful or not? So we do a prototype, okay? You create something. And then when we do prototype, this is a long process. We don't have time for doing this. But we are sometimes like so limited in the beginning because of all the rules, all the limitations that we have from the legislation, from all the situation, infrastructure, for example. But in the beginning of the design process, the creativity is very important. Open up your mind as wide as possible to have the most idea that you have. We have an exercise called Crazy 8. Actually, I was preparing for that, but we don't really have time to do this today. But I'm happy to do it like during the breakdown video because it's only 5 minutes. So Crazy 8 is like a make you crazy in 8 minutes, basically. So based on this crazy idea, everyone doesn't have to be very good in drawing. Everyone can write anything, and then we slowly, everyone can flesh out the idea that you have. And then from there, let's just move a little bit. Then we go to the wireframing, we are going to wireflow, we are going to go to mockup and stuff like that. But what is the most problem is people usually just go straight to the wireframing, creating a mockup, without going through this creative process. And so this is like this person is actually reflecting my own experience, because as I was trying to do a new app, I got confused. I don't know what to do, because this app is just like oh, I got this idea, and then when I started to do the app, my creative process stopped because I did not have time to go through all the things that I have told you before. I did not really know what I'm doing, so I got stopped. So we are still going to do how can we make an app in 15 minutes? You can make the quokka, and then after we created the app, make sure you try it. Don't just ask your friend or your tester to test the app, because I will guarantee you're going to fail. I work with over 500 startups, and then a lot of them have a different idea how to do the product development, including the AI products, and some of them insisted, and then you do what you do. You have your own journey to create something interesting. We do the usability testing, and there are a lot of AI tools that actually can help you. So, this one into details. So much into the usability testing. We can talk if you are interested on this. But yeah, at least we have covered how we can actually bring ourselves to understanding about humanity-centered design, how we can actually doing the creative process when we are going to design for the AI solution with empathy in your heart. And yeah, so we are going to give away the quokka. Quokka is the happiest animal in Western Australia, where my hometown is. And yeah, so it will be given today. And then also the winner from yesterday has been announced. And yeah, so whoever lucky, we let you know. Okay, well, I think that's it, what I want to discuss, and I'm on time, 30 minutes. Thank you very much.
We already have 4 minutes for questions. You are so fast. So, we will move forward because we are back in the schedule, but you will get your coffee. But before that, I want a huge round of applause for you soon. You will clapping until you soon wears the mic. So. One more time.
Okay, thank you.
Super.
I'll make sure to be on time. Are you okay on time? Okay. Hi, my name is Susan. I'm the director of New Leap, and our company is actually based in Los Angeles, but I'm based in Seoul. I have 15 plus of experience in PR and marketing, and I started up my own startup in 2016. So that's how I dived myself into the startup world. So if you actually want to get to more about my startup story, you can always follow me on the LinkedIn, and we can also chat after my presentation. So my topic today is AI technology education and boosting local community. So thank you for inviting me again in this beautiful city of Bangkok, one of my favorite places to visit. So I know Dimitri's had a brain activation, and also you guys move around a little bit with Dr. Eunice. And why don't we just do a quick MZ style or Gen Z style of starting off with this question: what is your MBTI? If you don't know your MBTI, you can scan what's on your right side of the QR code. It's only 6 questions to figure out what your MBTI is. And just for your reference, if you're curious what Korean culture is, Koreans love to talk about their blood type, which was 20 years ago. Nowadays, when you meet a new person, they'll ask you, so what's your MBTI? That's a icebreaker question. So yeah, let's take probably 30 seconds. Yeah, could you pull up? Yes. So do many of you know your MBTI, or is this your first time of doing it? You already know? Okay. So the reason that I post this is my breaking question is that I don't know, but I've heard the reputation as like Asian, or like in general, like East Asian or Southeast Asian culture is more reserved. So this is basically like personality test, but it doesn't mean that it wouldn't change. It reflects based on your current environment or situation. So for example, if you ask my current MBTI, I would be ISTP, but when I was in the States, where I used to talk a lot with small talks, I had my trait with ESTP. So, so it really reflects on your current environment or your current status. So did everyone get to know what your MBTI is? So yeah, later if you meet any Korean person, you can now break into the conversation. So yeah, why don't we move on to my slide. Okay, so let's talk about the current status of local AI technology education. So many communities face significant barriers to technology access and education because of limited resources or funding, or shortage of qualified instructors, or digital divide affecting vulnerable populations, lack of awareness about tech career opportunities. So my country is well known as like very technology advanced with the convenience of everything, but we still face all these problems, and I will show you the examples. Before that, what is the digitalization rate in your country? And I would love to hear like numbers of the many countries that we represent here. Okay. Can we pull up the numbers, Anna? So most numbers fall with 60% or less, right? More than half, right? So why don't we go back to the numbers that I want to share about Korea. So this is the number of Korea. If you talk about general digitalization in Korea, it'd be probably like a 98% or 99%. If you go on the subway in Korea, from child to all the elderly people, they all look at the smartphones. Even my mom, she watches YouTube all the time. Yes, but for this number, it's about underrepresented community. we are talking about handicapped, elderly, yeah, but also more of like diverse community because Korea has been more of globalized with the international marriage, and we face the problems with children who's not fluent in Korean when they go to school. Then that's going to be more problematic, especially in rural regions when there happen to be more of a diverse community. So yeah. So the number has been increasing, as you can see, every 2 years. And I believe by 2024, it probably reached up to 80%, which is quite high. And the reason behind of this is basically very heavily enforced government regulation and policy on education. So the opportunity, let's talk about it. Digital economy continues to grow, creating new opportunities. Tech jobs growing 2 or 3 times faster than other sectors. And remote work enables local talent to access global opportunities. Small businesses obviously need more digital skills to remain competitive. And AI tools can enhance productivity across all industries. And for this, I'll move on to my case studies. So what kind of AI tools do you use daily? I'm sure you're probably using at least like minimum of 3 or plus every single day. Yes, I see a lot of ChatGPT or anything related. I see Copilot, also DeepSeek. I don't know, but I've been banned of using it because of our government policy, so I wasn't able to get to the DeepSeek. Yes. So, okay, yeah, let's move on then. So you've probably at least have seen once, or you've probably using many of these on your daily life. So about my first case study that from my company, Boyle Heights is in a greater LA region, which is underrepresented community with the median income is below of the average of United States income. So we are partnered with AILA, and then we basically taught these young adults in Boyle Heights for them to learn about generative AI tools of like storyboarding frameworks and communication skills, and basically all these like Midjourney, DALL-E, Canva, Adobe Firefly, for them to get introduced to all these new generative AI tools, and for them to understand what kind of jobs are out there with AI related. Our outcome was 100% of students have completed their professional development courses. 80% of students participated in the live AI workshops and created digital assets. And 10 students graduated full course understanding AI, how to create social media assets. So outcome was, these are the young adults who doesn't like see themselves being in an AI or any tech-related jobs. By training them, we kind of open up their eyes of see, oh, maybe I can do this, maybe I can do that. And also because of the trainer who taught them is from that region. And we also have all the resources. There are a lot of like greater LA regions, if you know any of them. There's a region called Compton that you ever wanna go there to save your life. One of our colleagues, he's from there. and probably like a 1 in a 10,000, 1 in a 1,000, that he made it into all the way to the corporate very successfully. But always, when we talk about it, is that you are the first case, but we don't want you to be the only and the first case. We want in your people in your region to be many cases, to be looked up to you, and then maybe like a next, like maybe next Tom, next like Anna, next like Blood, right? So that's how we started off with this training. And I'll move on to the second case, also very similar to the ones that we did with Boyle Heights. This was a very interactive learning experience to engage, like inspiring young adults again to pursue their careers in the technology industry. So we brought leaders from all these Marvel Studios, Amazon, Disney, and Meta that you also would be like part of, want to be the part of, right? And then we held the interactive experiential learning courses with all these industry leaders. How we design all these courses to be more interactive is, like I pulled out all these MBTI questions. We started off with it was like 2021 when COVID was still ongoing. So we pulled out the question of what kind of childhood game would you play from Squid Game? Yes, yes. So everyone knows about Squid Game, right? So that was the question that we started off. And we actually trained over 1,000 students. And they actually now working at all these amazing companies, including Amazon, Disney, even LA Lakers Tech. So a lot of these students, like they couldn't see themselves being working in all these companies when they first started. And then as we go along, they realize, oh, like there are doors, like I can make it to all the way there. So also 92% wanted to have to follow careers workshops with New Leap, which is my company. So that's how actually we keep our clients to coming back to us for our strategy. So over thousands of participation, 92% is a follow-up, and 90% of engagements. So one of the workshops of the topics that I would love to share is basically how to mitigate LA's traffic by design thinking. Yes, LA traffic is very notorious, and I don't think anyone can solve it, the problem, but still we have to work on it. Otherwise, you'll be stuck in the traffic for 2 or 3 hours every single time that you go to work or coming back to work. So that was the second case that we had with LA Chamber of Commerce. So why don't we do some refreshments by scanning another QR code. What kind of jobs do you do that are related to AI or technology? Since we saw 2 cases with young adults that they never thought about working in the AI or technology industry, now that they're working in all of these amazing sectors with new tools. Okay, so yeah, I see many. And digital marketing, business analyst, content creation, teaching, UX UI design, yes. So we can leverage all these AI and technology to many, many other jobs. So let's go back to my presentation. So it's my last case, and this is in Korea, since I live in Korea right now. So past two cases focus on young adults, right? And our Ministry of Startup and Small and Medium businesses, we especially have the ministry that's just for startups and small and medium businesses, which allocates over $10 billion US dollars of budget annually. So from that, they have like all these programs to boost small and medium businesses. And my job was to create the curriculum to leverage generative AI tools and also communication skills for small and medium businesses in Korea, including like F&B businesses, retail, like shops like on the street, or also like online businesses. So we also provide a 2-week or 40 hours of program, including technical skills and also social media programs. We've taught over 300 plus small and medium business owners over 2 consecutive years. 98% of the owners participated in the program experienced like revenue growth. And all the owners responded affirming that they really needed this training. So these are some of the AI programs that we've taught them to how to use basically applications to the marketing. So a lot of small and medium business owners, they face the difficulty of content creation, how to do the marketing, because they always lack of budget. And I saw many hands of startup founders, just like with the Dr. Eunice, that we always face lack of budget in marketing. But nowadays, marketing is crucial, and we have to incorporate all these tools to downsize our budget, but to maximize our outcome. So over 300 plus owners participated, and among them 20% plus revenue growth. Some of them actually have 1,000% revenue growth, but it's think about small and medium business owners. We're not making from $1 billion to $2 billion. We're making from probably 10,000 to 100K, right? So this is the impact that we've created. And also 100% of engagement. So what I want to talk about bringing all these 3 cases is that government role is so crucial. Even United States, where corporate have more roles in this CSR or community-based project, they also apply all these programs in their local community, like Boyle Heights and LA Chamber of Commerce. For Korea, it's a very unique case where government advocates are heavily more enforced, right, with the larger budget. That I know you are always looking for to raise, and Korean government heavily puts on with their sovereign fund to fund VCs and to support early stage to Series A founders in Korea, which is probably up to $3 million US dollars. That's Series A in Korea. So the opportunity, I'm going to talk about opportunity. First, economic impact. Higher paid job opportunities for residents, of course. Increased local business competitiveness, attractions of tech companies to the area, creation of new local startups. So that is actually what Korean government is looking for when they put $10 billion budget every single year to foster local startups. Also for local startups to go overseas. And another information that I also want to share, if anyone who wants to come to Korea, to open up their business. Since November of 2024, our government have released startup visa for foreigners. So, yeah, you need to take a certain amount of education, a training program. You also have to set up a business registration in Korea, but some other criteria that you meet, you will receive special startup visa in Korea to have your own business in Korea. So, about the social impact, reduced income inequality, greater social mobility, enhanced community collaboration, improved public services through tech adoption. So I'm talking about all these underrepresented community. And Korea actually faced a serious problem with aging. Elon even talked about how our company is aging so fastly with such a low birth population. So for any of international population who's looking into Korea, this is the chance that you come in as a workforce or you come in with new business ideas. It's the time because we need young workforce. Where on the other hand, we also focus on the elderly education about their digitalization. So we specifically have courses or training programs in the local community level that teaches how to use smartphone, how to use the YouTube, how to use the kiosk to order a menu in the McDonald's, because a lot of people even can place an order because they don't know how to use the kiosk. Yes. Then, what kind of initiatives in AI and technology education come to your mind? Okay, I see a lot of different ideas already, and yeah, this is why we are here for. And I want you to share as many ideas as possible when we meet in person, because I also teach a lot, do a lot of training programs through Zoom, but it's very different. It's like the interaction is very different, and this is very crucial moment that we are all together from all the global. Okay. So lastly, I want to talk about all these initiative components. So we can create all these programs in the community learning hubs. Also targeted programs with the partnerships. So I also want to emphasize about the partnerships. So for all these programs, because I work in a startup and I also come from VC and all those investors' mind, everything has to be on a budget. Then how do you create your capitals, right? So it can come from governments, corporates, but where does it come from? From the corporate side, mostly CSR. A lot of these companies nowadays, if you are thinking about ESG, they focus on their branding, how to give their values to their community. That makes their brand so much better to the population, right? So lastly, I want to talk about in this moment about proactiveness, follow-up, and resilience. And I want all of these startup founders who are sitting here or who has their own business here, resilience is the key for exit. All the startup founders that I know, they're very resilient. And they actually chase down all these VCs to get their to raise their capital. So you can just follow me. You can message me. I'll get back to you. Like I can't maybe get back to you like right a second, but I'll probably reply to you like sometime at the moment, right? But right now you can just come up to me and talk to me. So proactiveness, follow, and resilience. This is my last words for today. Thank you. Yep. Any questions? Yes. Okay.
안녕하십니다. 제 이름은 싱싱입니다.
My
questions to you is in our countries, SME itself are obstacle to invest their staff for learning. Same for private sector on the doing CSR with community. What do you think of this? I think you found this program in your country before. I would like you to share when on the beginning, when SME, they will send the staff to learning with you, what the obstacle you found that you implement this activity on the beginning.
Can I like rephrase the question of like what are the stakeholders of the program or?
Yes, in our country, SME itself, they are obstacles. They found a challenge when they would like to send their staff to come for learning. They don't want to invest the time for send their staff for learning. So I know that you might find this in your activity on the beginning in your country as well. So how do you implement this on the beginning? Like the obstacle.
Obstacle? I'm sorry. Obstacles.
Yes.
Okay, sorry. How do I overcome obstacles of SME founders?
SME, when they send their staff come to training with you.
Training with me?
Yes.
Oh, okay. So, sorry. Yeah, so first of all, like I said, we know the problems. I once was a startup founder. We always face the lack of capitals, right? And their whatever stages they are, like either you're on a early stage or seed, Series A, they always face like different problems of each stages. From like for the past 10 years, I've collected all the data of basically like I have the statistics of what kind of problems they would face in each stage. So I would also like do the survey, like pre-survey of what kind of problems that you have in the beginning, and also after the training or the middle of training, we'll do the survey again, and then we will also do the post-survey. But although we all like kind of have the statistics of their general problems, each of them, when you actually break down to the questions, they also have like all these like minor, a little bit of other problems that they face with. Also, the reason that a lot of founders come back to us for more training is that we heavily focus on one-on-one mentorship. Yes, that we actually work with LA Ventures Association, which has like 3,000 VCs and family offices and angel investors across the United States. So we can pull out all the resources or all the mentorships that, so this founder has in a clean tech sector, and this founder is in a medical sector or bio. So we match them with the mentors with their special background. So that's how we pull out how we overcome the obstacles or help overcome obstacles of the founders. Yes.
Thank you very much. Because we are late in the program, you will continue in the break. So we have a 15-minute break. We need to be sharp 15 minutes. So we go outside, we get our coffee, the water, blah blah blah, and be back in 15 minutes. A huge round of applause And thank you very much.
So, hello again. As you know, my name is Melissa Armas. I create intentional frameworks for projects and systems. So today's conversation is going to be very exciting for me, and we're going to have two incredible people coming from very diverse backgrounds. We're going to have the opportunity to listen to people with work experience and live experiences in public sectors and also in the private industry. And that's going to be so important because we'll be talking about leadership and skills in the future workforce. Without any much further ado, I would like to introduce Daniel Wu and Fawn. Thank you. And I didn't want to murder your name, so. Thank you. And wonderful. So today's topic is fascinating to me because we are looking at a world that is more and more global, and technology is moving fast and furious. We have very different needs in the workforce currently, and we see that there's also a plethora of opportunities. You don't need to live somewhere to work there, but also as we see opportunities, we also see that there's more competition in the workforce. So it's fascinating to have the opportunity to talk about both hard skills and soft skills and how the balance and the rhythm that we can put in our skill set, in our wheelhouse, knowing both is going to help us get ahead in the workforce in the global economy. So before we get started, I would like to ask them to tell us, you know, that dreaded question that you get in interviews. Tell us about yourself. How did you get here, and where have you been, and what brought you to this point today in this conference? And before you do that, let me just tell you something about why I'm happy to be here is because you've heard that I like to build intentional frameworks, and I think that intentionality brings a lens that is more holistic. And as we've been talking for the past 2 days, the holistic side of projects and finding solutions brings you back to the origin and the upstream challenges, and you realize that when you want to fix one thing, you need most likely to fix a system. And that system includes economic development and workforce development. So please introduce yourself and let us know how you got here and what do you do.
Since you guys see my face so often, so let maybe over to the guest of today first, and then will be mine.
First of all, good morning, everyone. I couldn't be more excited to be here and share a little bit of my story. But most importantly, I'd like to thank Kun Phon as well as Bhat for the opportunity to share a little bit of my story, which I hope will be an interesting half an hour with you. So maybe we'll do now, and then we'll work backwards. For me, I currently hold the role of the Global Head for Global Affairs at Agdoda, where I cover the entire world in terms of driving travel, technology, and sustainability with governments and communities of countries in which we operate. We principally focus on Asia and continue to focus on Asia, but the remit is global. I got into this role quite entirely by accident. And this is where I tell my story. I never thought I would be in this role, influencing people, organizing people around large, ambitious, shared ideas. But what actually got me started was when I was a very young child, which seems like a long time ago. I was just someone washing dishes in a restaurant, serving food in a restaurant. And I thought, there must be something more. And I scratched that itch, and I had the opportunity to study in the United States. And one of the things that got me started on this path was taking a course on government and public policy. And then what I found so interesting about it, to this day still, is that governments and public policies fundamentally are about architecting systems to organize ideas in a systematic, coherent, nationwide way. And I saw that it really fascinated me because the next thing that I looked into was not just governments at the local level, but then at the regional level. So Thailand, just like my home country, Malaysia, we are part of the ASEAN experiment. And looking at how regional institutions then organize around a common cause was so fascinating to me. From there, I had an opportunity to work on a number of academic issues, but as I worked on academic matters, it made me realize that as much as I loved the topic itself, I fell in love with talking to people. And you can't tell this from me, but I'm super introverted, hard to tell. But I found that talking to people, convincing them to do things they otherwise wouldn't do was the #1 core skill of mine. So over the course of my career, I went from the nonprofit sector to the private sector. One of the most remarkable things I've done in my life include, for example, if you're in Thailand, if you go to a QR payment code, you scan using your mobile banking app, whether using your Thai banking app or even Singapore, Malaysia now, it's based on the standardized QR code on the DCN Global standard. I had the opportunity to bring that into Thailand, and now continues to be the global standard around the world for QR payments. And then, from there now, I think about what I do today, and it's not about the company I represent, it is, but I ultimately see it as an opportunity to organize people around a common vision. And in a post-COVID era, this becomes even more important because now the world is in a world of never normal. We started from a bit of a normal, and then people started touting the new normal, but really we're in an era of never normal. And in this era of never normal, everyone has the opportunity to come up with great ideas. And from that, I love being in this role because it helps me organize people around never normal ideas. And that's why speaking with all of you today, it really excites me because that's the story I'd love to share. Thank you.
Thank you. Fawn?
That's giving me a lot of pressure.
Right, yeah.
How can I make it sound so good like you? Well, the question was, tell us about yourself, right?
Yes, tell us about yourself, and how you got here.
By this time, people know a little bit about me already.
Just a little.
But look, I also come from a very humble beginning. I came from a little bit lower middle income family. I didn't have money to study. I remember my father has to put his only wash in a pawn shop to get some money to pay for my tuition. Right, and that was the opening statement in my personal statement for the university in America. And with that, it's got me the full scholarship, all the way from bachelor to master degree. And part of the scholarship that I got was one of the former Prime Minister of Thailand. And the unique thing about that scholarship is I never have to come back and become a public servant. But as you see my title before, I'm now a part of the government. Because there's also a part in me that always wanted to give back to the society in the way that I can. Even though yesterday I was also talking to a few of us that even though I make much less money than the private sector where I came from, I worked at Amazon before, and before that I always worked at the MNC. I also spent a few years after my graduation working in Washington, DC. But I think if you ask me what are the keywords that identify who I am as a person, I think it's giving back is one of the big things about myself. Giving back to the place where I came from, which is my country, but bigger than that, giving back to the people who, also coming from the humble background. And do what I do best now, but it doesn't mean that's the only thing I'm passionate about, right? So in the past today, you hear me talking about things that I'm passionate about, public policy and regulations, because I want to make sure that, we will be here longer than our lifetime. It will be our children, our family. We want to give a piece of us, leave the legacy behind, right? And for me, I want to use the experience in technology and shape it in the way that it would be healthy for my daughter, right? So that she will have a safe life while she's, scrolling to the new social media that one of you could create, for example. So I think we'll come back more in the later questions for other part. Thank you.
Wonderful, thank you. So we're talking about beginnings and going to school and having that education. How do you think that education or those hard skills that you went to school to learn have helped you so far?
Okay. After 3 times, someone's got to give. Okay, so the way I look at it is not so much hard skills or soft skills. I think about it as what's teachable and what's not teachable. As someone who hires a number of people on a rolling basis, I look at it like that. What am I willing to teach? What am I not willing to teach? Hard skills fundamentally are teachable. Whether you learn it from a professor or you look up on the internet and you figure it out yourself, which is I think what most of us did to get here. Hard skills to me, especially now with AI, Gen AI, is increasingly being altered away. So perhaps there's a less of a premium on hard skills now and more of an over-index on soft skills. Now, that's the tricky part. Soft skills, what are they? And then do I consider them teachable and not teachable? To me, a lot of it falls into the category of not teachable. In the course of my career, there are some, I think, important skills, soft skills, that to this day continue to distinguish, I think, my profile around the world. And I wanted to give that context first because as you grow in your life, your career, you will identify that each of you has unique soft skills, or what I like to call them superpowers, that you do disproportionately better at X number of magnitude, more so than anyone else. That is the kind of thing that separates you, and that's the thing that is almost not teachable. For me, what are those non-teachable things that continues to be my superpowers? Number one, courage to be misunderstood. To me, it was so important. The things I've done in my career, people didn't believe I could pull it off. But having that courage to be misunderstood for a long period of time, to see your vision come to life, to me was such an important soft skill. Number two, empathy. I think for me it was very important as well, to understand people, to influence them. And then lastly, having the courage to have backbone. So especially as we go into a never normal world, there are some skills there are some ideas, initiatives that fundamentally will be misunderstood on arrival. And for example, take cloud when it was first born, take QR code payments when it was first born, even GPU AI was misunderstood when it was first born. Web3 blockchain also was misunderstood when it was first born. But it took a group of pioneers to drive that forward. And to me, having the backbone to see your vision come to life is so important. I think that's the soft skills that almost not teachable. Maybe I add a fourth. I think for the audience here, I think super helpful. What I almost look for that is not teachable is passion. No matter what you do, passion is number one overriding driver. When I was but a young child, the work that I did, what did I know? Nothing. And to me, what got me through the door was a passion that I could be a great contributor to a particular initiative or cause. And to me, that passion today is what I look for when I engage with new hires, new team members, partners outside the company, organization. I look for that passion. Because when you find that passion, it just lights up the room. Have you seen that? Have you met someone that you talk to them and you just love what they're doing? That is almost not teachable, very irreplaceable, and I would encourage
That's
you
most
to
people in this room. Let me tell you from my experience in the past 2 days.
discover your passion. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think, so what's the hard skill? What do I think?
What do you think
That got
hard
me here?
skills that you learned that,
I think, well, I was born and raised in the era where the adult will ask you what you want to be when you grow up, right? And then they will advise you what you gotta study to get there. And in the context of Thailand, you don't get to, like in America, you can choose your major and minor. For us, you have to take the exam, and you have to choose only one department, right? And then I think by the time that I leave Thailand, I was 17, they tried to, I was the first generation that they changed the pathway to get into university. Oh my gosh, and after that they keep changing it. But whatever format and model that they use, you still very it's very limited that you must choose only one. So if I were still in Thailand at that time, I really wanted to be a doctor. So I was, making sure that my score in science are all very high, and I don't like physics. I'm okay with chemistry, but I'm very good with biology. And my professor and friends would be like, no, you gotta hit 100 or 90 plus for all three for you to highly qualify yourself into a top school, which is for me, at the time, wanted to go to Jula, for example, right? So I got myself into the biology Olympiad committee. So I was, well, and when people hear this, like, oh, you're so smart, you get into that cohort. I was the last student on the list. I was the last one, and they cut at my name, right? But then life took me to Norway under a scholarship. I spent some time in Europe and then later on America. It was the knowledge. I make sure that I always pass the exam. I make top score. I'm always in the king class, to be up there. That's got me through many doors until I landed in Norway, that my grades start to drop significantly. Even though I tried, because I couldn't speak any language yet. My English sucks, So I tried my best to get myself through to university with full scholarship. I think it was until my sophomore year is a wake-up call that, look, no, what you really have to master is your soft skills. I started talking to friends. I took the communication course with my professor, Professor Ken, I remember his name. He was this kind American professor who teach me that, look, Fawn, you have so many doors in your life that is locked. It's not the subject or knowledge that really opened the door. It's not necessary that, but you gotta have these three things. You have to be able to communicate. You must have very authentic self. You must be very authentic. Because in a room full of people, how can you make sure they know you? No, they know who you really are. They must know you, like, oh, my name is Fawn and I work for the Thai government. But is me, but not entire me. So building that authenticity takes time, and it's not going to take semester. It's not going to take bachelor degree. It's actually beyond those 4-year colleges. The first 4-year colleges are the years that you have to explore full dimension of yourself, but it doesn't stop there. It was just the beginning. So it's a combination. So it's so true, whatever that my mom and my family was saying, study hard when you were young, because the many doors will be open. Now, in the age of digital transformation, which is the theme of why we're here, there's even more hard skills that you need to get yourself, equipped. But there are always the same set of soft skills that you need to master over time. So I think as an adult, we still have to practice. So myself, I'm an extrovert. After COVID, I'm a lot more introvert. The soft skill that I also have to master, I think I also have my own weakness that I have to master, but that's my story.
I think maybe Kun Fon mentioned something, I think it's a key word here. She said overtime. You may not realize now that from now to the day that you retire and exit the world, that you will change as a human being based on the collection of people that you met, the experiences that you had, and the dreams that you will have and you want to achieve. And because of that, over time you will change. The hard skills and soft skills that make you uniquely you will change over time. So what's important for me, soft skills now, is very different from the soft skills that I needed to embody back at the age of 21. And maybe just think of the...
Which is like what? Good at partying?
Well, yes, that's how different. But I would say, in terms, I like the point point you made about authenticity, because to me, at that age, in my point in time, now it's different, but I remember the number one differentiator for myself, soft skills wise, at age of 21 was very simple. I wanted to be known as the hardest worker in the room, because I know I didn't go to a fancy school. I don't come from a fancy background, single child family in a little island in the middle of nowhere, and I wasn't particularly endowed in any particular way, so I didn't have any of that. So I needed to carve my way out in the world that we live in, and at that time I wanted to do Southeast Asia. I had an opportunity, and I made a promise to myself. I remember that, in a city, Washington D.C., filled with very smart people, very accomplished people, very connected people, I know I can't compete on that basis. But what I could compete on was to be known as the hardest worker in the room. I will outwork everyone else to get to where I want to be. And I did. I wanted to deliver someone's copy, done. You wanted the parcel delivered, done. Because to me, hard work creates its own opportunity. And it worked for me. But now it's a little bit different. Life has changed.
I think maybe you can share a specific experience that got you from your first job in DC to a law firm, right? So let me just say, so
here's my story too.
When he got offered, I have a secret. When he got offered from a law firm, not to be a lawyer, but what was the role? The advisor, right, in a law firm. Y&Kess was the name. It was because he was really good at writing, and he has this idea that, okay, I will do monthly insight writing about, what's going on in country X, Y, Z in ASEAN. And that writing caught the eye of one of a very senior manager in a law firm who were looking for someone who has that great skill and can articulate complicated topic and simplify it into easy communications, and that's how they come and offer that to him, right? And you can share why you started that when it's not a norm of the workplace? No one care about writing. Were you bored?
I was bored. No, I'm just kidding. No, I think it came back to hard work. I wanted to raise the profile of Southeast Asia in Washington D.C., which at the time, 16 years ago, no one was really talking about Southeast Asia in Washington D.C. in the context of foreign policy and economic diplomacy. It was just at the tipping point at its very nascent stage, and I wanted to do more about that. But to me, it was also about building that skill, because back to soft skills, hard skills. At that time in my life, I was starting to build know who, because just the nature of the business, you will naturally meet people along the way. So know who and ability to know who in the future, I think I was pretty clear that I could do it. But what was less obvious was know how, and the ability to articulate know how. That was hard. I remember I was in Brunei, believe it or not, with bankers, and I asked them, this was 15, 16 years ago, I said, if you could turn back time and give me one piece of career advice, what would you do? All three of them said, you gotta learn how to write. I was like, oh, wait, what? Like, it was such an epiphany to me that I realized that my ability to communicate large complex ideas in a simple way to executives who make decisions was a skill that I needed to build to get to the next stage. And I challenged myself to write, that can appeal to a broad range of audiences, executives, academia, and a number of my articles got published. To this day, I'm still really proud of them. But that to me was building that skill, and then again, like hard work created this opportunity. It was noticed by people after that, and that I think was the bedrock of what I do today.
Wow. So what I'm hearing is your superpower is your biggest differentiator. You're going to stand out by the thing that you do best and comes natural to you. And it is so important always, we hear the phrase going above and beyond, and I think we think of going above and beyond as something very philosophical, but that is going above and beyond. You build your own opportunities.
Let me tell a quick fun story. My turn. I know a story about her. Okay, here we go. So, I love how Melissa made that point, because that superpower is something that will come very naturally to you, but it's very hard for someone else to do. Kun Fon has this particular skill that I don't have, I just cannot. And it's non-linear strategic thinking, the ability to think outside the box. I just cannot. But if you ever have a chance to talk to Kun Fon over the next maybe 5-6 more hours we have together, ask her about challenges that she's faced and how her outside the box thinking, non-linear strategic thinking has helped her solve one of the most challenging, complex problems in the policy environment. And that's something that I naturally do not have. I'm much more linear, but non-linear thinking is like top tier.
Thank you. So in the spirit of time, because we're running out of it, thinking about the future of work, how does the balance of soft skills and hard skills look to you? And what would be the top 3 soft skills that you would tell everyone to practice and get on? And just one, before you answer, as you're thinking about it, to me, soft skills, and this is not my idea, I run into some people who are already writing about it, but soft skills are really power skills. They're the opposite of soft, because they're very, very hard to have and to recognize and to nourish.
Yes, and I think majority of all our leaders here on both sides of the room have amazing soft skills. So much that I have see you guys and talk to you, and I'm just blown away by how excellent the soft skills that you acquired, and so much inspiration that you have for yourself. So for me, I share the same soft skill. You say empathy. I think that is something that people don't really talk about, or you don't really see in the slide, But in the world of technology, the future of work is increasingly going to be technology intense, right? AI, whatnot, and the new innovation that you guys will create. But we must not forget that there's the real world outside there. And on the first day I said, the fact that we are adopting technology is because we want things to move more efficiently. We want ourselves to be more productive. We can produce more solutions for the world by leveraging technology. Is the means to the end, to an end, right? What we're going to use technology to solve mission X. And today we talk about making our world greener. The other day we want to have digital inclusion. We don't want the elderly to be left behind. Those are the bigger mission, and technology is a part of it. And during that process, the key factor there is empathy. So develop your character and your mindset to have a lot of empathy will help you really resolve one of the future biggest challenge of the world. Number 2 is you need to think big. So thank you for talking about that. But don't get stuck in a problem. Sometimes I think from our experience, and both of us also work at Amazon Web Services together, and before that also I have great experience servicing Microsoft, Google, all the big tech. Oftentimes what we have seen is that people tend to focus more on the problem and they forget the rest, the surrounding and the environment, the bigger society, right? They just focus on one single thing. How can they get there? It's important to see the whole picture. So for me, one of the tangible things that I'm very proud of, my accomplishment, is to create the entire data center industry in Thailand. And to do that, you need to change some laws in the countries. To do that, you have to build new regulation to make sure that people can really invest in Thailand. And the government is going to accept that. The lawmaker is going to create a path. But why do we do that, right? It's not just about answering the technology's profit-making objective, but why would we need data center investment? What are we trying to create here in Thailand or in ASEAN? Because it's more than just Thailand, it's Malaysia, it's Indonesian, that you also are attracting lots of tech. Why? So thinking big from there, you will see that other than talking about infrastructure, you also need energy. You also need the tax part to also be enabling.
you also need talent. And this is a topic of my heart, because if you just gonna have big industry here but no talent, then things gonna fall apart. So we do not want to import talents from other countries. We want to cultivate our local talent. So all of you, right, should be working, for your country, in your country, and it can be for global companies as well. But enabling that ecosystem requires you to think big. Now, the opposite, not the opposite of that, but to supplement that is to deep dive, right? You think big, and you also need to think very deeply as well, right? So the soft skill on empathy will help you to think about this. When I think about talent workforce for data center industry, I also think about the outlier, the disadvantages. We created one pilot project for the disabled people to be able to learn cloud computing. They also have the skills and the ability and time, and we are lacking cloud workers in Thailand. So how can we enabling those outliers to be a very key and important part in what we are trying to make? So I hope that answers your question.
Thank you. Daniel, what 3 soft skills do we need looking into the future?
I maybe pivot my answer to a slightly different approach, and I share this playbook with you. You will hopefully find this extremely useful. You need to master 3 things: IQ, EQ, OQ. Let me explain what those are. Very, very important, beyond the skills. IQ, self-explanatory, the ability to be smart, strategic, or to get smart and be strategic. That raw intelligence and the wisdom to apply it in complex greenfield scenarios, so important. EQ, Kun Fon talked a lot about empathy. It's the ability to deal with people. In this world where people are increasingly relying on Gen AI to produce robotic answers that lacks that emotional intelligence, it becomes even more important for humans like ourselves to embody that emotional intelligence and the ability to deeply understand a person and how to influence them. Third, if you want to rise to the top of any organization, or if you are driving a particular idea, OQ is to me the new Q. This is called organizational intelligence. Organizational intelligence refers to your ability to understand how different people, different functions, different teams, different subsystems, subroutines all work together in a harmonious way. And the ability to understand when things go wrong, how to fix organizations. To me, that's probably my greatest strength. The ability to see how systems work together and how to organize people within those systems is not my number 1 differentiator. All things that I do. So if you can do IQ, EQ, OQ, you're going to be very, very successful no matter what you do.
Wonderful. Well, we're out of time. Thank you so much for being here today. And we're done with this part. Do we have time for questions, Dimitris? Yes, perfect. Questions, please. And we need a mic. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you so much. My name is Rizky Asar. I'm from Indonesia. So since the topic is about the leadership principle, and also I follow the discussion in the first day about the data security, it's intrigued me. And from your background, because your background is an advisor in the Ministry of Digital Economic Skills, so I have 2 questions. One question for you and one question for Mr. Daniel Bu. For Ms. Natana, so my question is about how the sharing data information. I mean, the use of data between your institution, Ministry of Digital Economic, and also the other institution. The sharing data is not always a bad thing, because I believe that the driven data decision making, it's a good thing for people's benefit. But the problem is, because you mentioned about the PDPA, it just released. I really want to know how it's applied in Thailand, and how, given your position as an advisor, how do you balance protecting personal data while also navigating the government need for data-driven decision making, for example? So that's my question. And for Mr. Wu, my question is about literacy principle as well, but maybe it's more practical. I'm a person who wants to learn from a real situation. So would you give me an example? For example, because some of us, maybe I'm not a business person, but some of us are a leader in the NGO. I would ask if how do you manage or mitigate the risk when there's a problem such as in the start of a company there was a data leaking, for example. In Indonesia we have those issues. How do you navigate those issues, create a communication strategies, because we need to learn about that and the real situation when you are resolve those issues in Agoda. So yeah, that's my question. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you for the questions. Yeah, actually, PDPA has been a while has been for quite a while, number of years, and it was indeed one of the very first policy that we came up with when you think about data governance, right? I think the first day I was talking about data governance. It's indeed the foundation of when we think about data governance. Today, we actually, other than having the act, we have an actual working committee under what we call PDPC, is a PDP Council. The organization is also under our monitoring of Ministry of Digital Economy as well. But that's, to me, it's just the basic, right? You gotta make sure that you have all this framework in place. When we study this, we in fact invite a lot of researchers to look into this, because we have to look deeply into each industry. So we look into the travel industry, we look into manufacturing, we have public hearings where people would come and help us shape the policy. I would say the act is fundamental, but in practice there are guidelines, there are practicing, how do you say this? It's more a practical framework, but it's ongoing, because you know, in the beginning the government also have to learn how this thing going to work together. So there may be mistakes, you know, when how are we going to collect data? Are we going to just collect it without getting consent? You know, that doesn't work. So we pilot something that we also look at it again and say, okay, we have to do this in a more of a sandbox tool framework. And since then, if we have any new ideas on how to proceed with a new type of practical framework, then we will do it in a sandbox mechanism.
I think to answer your question, thank you for your question. Put it this way, I come from a for-profit organization, you're a non-profit organization. In general, the leader of any organization has to manage two things, headwinds and tailwinds. There are jobs, there are people whose jobs to think about how to make this business go right. There's also a bunch of people in the company that think about what could go wrong and how to manage it. So I am very fortunate to be on both sides of the fence. I can share that from a data comms perspective, it's very important to consider the different levels of how things could go wrong and plan for that. You can't plan for everything, for sure. But what I found helpful in terms of a strategy is to first identify to your organization what are some key principles that are invaluable to the success of your role. For example, if you're in a tech company, by definition, you need to ensure that security and privacy. So if you agree that that's a fundamental tenet, then you can ensure that whatever product or solutions that you build are secure and private by design. So for example, you must just first of all embed that you will not publicly share your security keys. You must ensure SSL handshakes for any transaction, stuff like that, basic stuff. But it's much easier to build it from the ground up rather than retrofit technology or even business solutions on top later on, because you're trying to make A and B fit together, that doesn't end up with the best outcome. That's my 2 cents. Thanks.
Thank you. We have another question over here. Up front.
Yes. Thank you so much for the very inspiring discussion, and it's also funny to see you guys kind of fight to answer it. And I really want to deep dive into the discussion about leadership and also the education. The story about you are going to the law firm, but you're not as a lawyer, is really give me the really interest as a law student as well. Also, the question is, do you think the interdiscipline or also the multidisciplinary approach to learn is also significant to implement, especially in the Mekong Delta? Because as in Indonesia itself, as my context, we really segmented. If you want to be a lawyer, you have to be in the faculty of law, in the master of law, and the matter of law. That's it. And also talking about the superpower, if you have the ability to going to the past, and what do you want to say to your 20 years old to ace the skill that always lasting and significant impact? Thank you.
Wow, that's a great question. Who takes a stab?
I love to answer the latter part. I think I want to party more. Well, I clearly missed the karaoke yesterday in the room. And that was not a joke. I had amazing experience being in college my third year and fourth year. I spent my first year in my room reading textbook. I wanted to get good grade. My grade was excellent, but I didn't have a life. I was not out here like you guys, learning and changing and sharing. And then I wasted my first year fighting opportunities. So I think if I could have, turned back in time, I would be just like you, trying to find and grab opportunity even earlier so that I meet more people and explore myself earlier without judging myself. Also, I was very adventurous back then as well. And I learned that as I grow older, I'm getting less adventurous. I'm becoming more comfortable in my comfort zone. And every time I try to remind myself that I should not. I should still keep that door opportunity open without judging, and doing that calculation in my head, what would be the risk of being out there, right? For you to answer the law part of the question.
I'll take the two questions. I 1000% agree with the interdisciplinary approach. In fact, I would say being one-dimensional now actually holds you back, doesn't really distinguishes you, because it doesn't allow you to tap on a variety of diverse experiences that you can bring to a particular solution. In every business or policy problem I've solved, it's not because I was a purist. I'll give you a great example. When I did QR code payment standardization, I had zero background in payments. I came from an entirely different era, but I was able to take that insight experience and apply it to payments and voila, somehow solve the problem. And that's why I encourage you to always embrace a diverse approach to the way that you develop yourself, because ultimately, think about it from a leadership perspective, multidimensional people ultimately become more interesting people, and they often make one of the best colleagues that you can find on this planet. If I could turn back time and tell myself, actually I would say, I want to say thank you to my wife, because I didn't get here today by accident. It's because I had the privilege of having the most amazing wife and life partner I could find. If we turn back time, I wish I'd met her sooner. She might disagree, but I think that was one of the best things that happened to me. It's like, we should date sooner.
I think I have something to add with your question as well. I think this is beyond just the law student. I also have friends who is in medicine. I was just chatting outside during the break about this, that my friend went ahead and had her MD, a very successful career. And then at one point, she did come and ask me for consultation, like, hey, I want to study law. Is there any part-time program, specific tailored for doctors? And we were like, oh, why? Why would you want to study some more? and she said, well, that's the thing. I think not knowing law, it's going to make her life even more difficult. She wants to be well-rounded and just learn and be curious, right? That's, I think, let me add that into the list of soft skills as well, and always learn. So even though I think some of us here as speakers, I think we can agree, we also here to learn from each other as well. So I think that that's always a big room of learning and always be curious. So thank you for the question. I think that resonates with so many of us. Both Melissa and I, for example, we come from a non-tech background, but we extensively work with technology. Melissa also, even though she's not a panelist, but as a moderator, I first know her last year in Arizona, and she's this shining sunshine person in the room of all these tech founder. Her herself is a founder. She can work the room. She know everybody. That's her superpower. She's a connector, right? And today let me talk about you a little bit. And today her clients are tech company, right? But you don't have a tech background. You didn't get a bachelor degree in that. But she can make sure that the project in technology is going to be successful. And believe me, when all of us, two of us also work in big tech, engineers, the key part of technology, right? Developer, solution architect, and all those, we must have them in place. Cybersecurity technician, without them, we won't have the safe technology. But without non-technical people, the project will not come alive. So today, if you go into the career page of many tech company, you'll see a really big part that is say non-tech jobs. And those are the jobs that they're looking for people with soft skills, right? You don't need to have a hard skill. And for the technical people, making it to the top, you must be the person who can communicate. You must be the engineer, who know how to speak with normal human beings. And believe me, it's really hard to find those people. So for our office, Amazon office in Thailand, it was so hard to find a head of solution architect who are Thai. We always have to import because it's hard to find someone who can communicate in normal language, not technical language. Maybe similar to lawyers, right? Maybe similar to other tech field. So thank you for that question. I think this helped enlighten many people as well because we don't have time to go through all of them. And I hope I got you right.
Thank you. And I appreciate all of your engagement. Thank you so much for being here. And let's take that home. That was beautiful. Thank you. Always be curious. Always be learning. I think that's the message here. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And without further ado, because we are back in the schedule, I want another round of applause for Andrea in order to switch the stage. You see a live change in the microphones. Okay, all good? Yeah. Okay, great.
So, hello everyone. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Andrea. I'm here representing a network called European Digital Development Alliance. And today I'm going to talk about the impact of digital technologies, particularly in higher education. A little disclaimer here. I want to be a bit provoking today because I believe that higher education, whatever it is, universities, colleges, community colleges, are great institutions. I love higher education. But I'm also very intellectually honest, and I think that higher education are kind of losing their importance in society. One question before we start. How many of you went to university? Can you raise your hand? Okay. How many of you are working with universities right now? And by working, I mean you are either like teaching courses, doing a PhD. How many of you are currently working with universities? Okay, so you see, a lot of you went to universities. Very few of you are still working with universities. And here we are a community of innovators. Another question for you. How many of you felt during your studies in university or higher education that a course an exam or a book that you had to read was completely useless? Can you raise your hand? Quite a few of you. And that's exactly the point I want to talk about you, because in a community of innovators like DCN, I think that we have to better understand the role of universities. We were talking a lot about skills development these days, and I think that when you look at how we see universities, when you are a young student, when you are a person that want to learn and want to go to university, you always try to maximize few features. First of all, you want to maximize your choice, meaning that you really want to go to an organization that is the best for you. So you don't want to go to a university that does not fulfill your aspiration. You want to go to the best university for yourself and your career. There is also maximization of cost of opportunities. For many, many years, like going to university was just fine. You were just going to universities and, okay, I'm at the university, I'm fine. But nowadays, if you want to invest your money, if you want to invest your time, you really want to get the best opportunities from higher education, which means that there is a shift now. Being a university is not enough to attract the students. You really have to offer something on top of that. And then, of course, there is the maximization of learning. So, with new technologies, you want to go to university and learn what's the best for you. Now, what are the challenges that we face in universities? First of all, I think many universities, when we're talking about digital technologies and tech education, really don't keep the pace of change. I think that everyone experienced some frustration in the university recently because they struggle to keep the pace with new technologies. Maybe they make you study from old books or make you study from, I don't know, some kind of systems that are updated. I remember that, I can give an example. When I was in university, almost 10 years ago, I had to study for a course on how to program on a calculator. Something that nowadays, it's something that it didn't exist anymore. Also, another big issue is personalization. I think that when you enter university, sometimes you feel frustrated because you want to learn what you think is useful for you. Maybe you heard in a DCN event or in another event that there is a particular skill set that is particularly useful for, I don't know, fintech, an area that you want to work. But in university, you cannot learn that, or you have to take additional courses. Maybe you are interested in about the intersection between AI and blockchain, but at the university, you can either learn blockchain or AI, and the intersection, maybe it's something that you can do for a master and not for a bachelor. And then it's something that Dimitris was talking about. I think many speakers were mentioning that a lot of universities and a lot of higher education institutions are still focusing on what you have to learn, and they are not focusing so much on how to learn effectively. So the focus is still on what and not on how. And then there is another big trend in education, which is online courses. How many of you have done an online course in the last 6 months? Quite a lot of you. It's a huge market. You see the market size is almost $185 billion around the world. And the results of remote learning, online learning, is something huge. 80% of students in the US prefer to skip classes in universities if you give them the opportunity to study the same thing online or remotely. Also, there are many studies that show that online learning is really associated with better performances. So when you learn remotely, when you learn online, you learn better, you learn faster than sitting in a class and listening to a professor. Now, Why these are challenges for higher education? Well, first of all, because when there's a competition, you always have pluses and minuses. For instance, nowadays a degree does not guarantee a good job. So when you go to university, you hope to get a good job, but it depends on the degree, depends on the university. So getting a degree is not enough to get a good job, which results in a huge decrease of enrollment. In the US, we already saw that after COVID, because when there is a specific skills that you can learn online, you don't need a university to teach you that. At the same time, universities nowadays is very expensive. I think that especially in a region like this one, going to university is a big investment. But if it's not paid off, you simply don't go to university. You can learn something by yourself, or you can enroll in a different kind of educational institution, and you don't need a university. And last but not the least, universities are very expensive to run. In the UK, 40% of them are in deficit, which means that the state has to put money, or states or donors have to put money to keep them running. And it's important because if you are at deficit, you cannot really offer, you cannot keep the pace, what I was discussing before, with the technological chain. And that's a huge problem, because in this way, universities and higher education institutions are losing their importance for our society. Also, there is a shift. There are shift in patterns of students' life. So a lot of people prefer to study from an e-campus, which is remote opportunities. So 63% of online learners in universities see that flexibility is an important factor. So when they want to enroll in university, if the university doesn't offer flexibility, they simply don't get enrolled. Also, universities that offer more online and remote learning opportunities are more financially sustainable, because they can save on other costs as well. And of course, a lot of universities do not offer a variety of learning opportunities, while when you learn remotely, when you learn from online courses, you can do that. So when you offer a variety of online learning opportunities, you can have a lot of course variability, and students appreciate that as well. Now, I put here some models or trends in university. They're a bit theoretical, I'm just going into that, but what I want to question, what I want to discuss is the model in which we approach universities. And I think for us, for a community of innovators, the model is changing. Why? Because the traditional model in which we base our learning development was for many, many years based on what I call the Alan Turing model. You know this guy, right? So this is basically the person that invented the concept of computer. And Alan Turing was really like a traditional, sort of say, student, because he went to university, he graduated from Cambridge. He was doing research in a university or higher education institution at the Princeton University in the US. And after that, after he entered university, after he made research and innovation within university, he started to work on field applications. So its model of innovation was like higher education and then innovation. And for many, many years, probably for your parents or grandparents' generation, that was the model. The innovation is done after you enter universities. Now, things change a bit since the 80s. And I put here what I call the Bill Gates model, not because he was the first one to do that, but because it was probably the first big thing that was created out of this model. So what Bill Gates did was going to Harvard. So he was a very good student in high school. He went to Harvard. He was studying there, but he felt that getting a degree, finish its formal education in the higher education institution was simply not useful to innovate. So what he did, he dropped out and he went to create Microsoft. Now, I'm not encouraging you to drop out universities, of course, but what I'm saying here is that universities were not only the place to learn hard skills, it was also a place where networking opportunities, creating innovation, creating opportunities for yourself to innovate, it was a core of the university model for innovators. And I think that gaining knowledge in academia to go outside and innovate in the real world was for many, many years like the baseline on which the university education was founded. But I think nowadays things are changing again. Now, I didn't find a good definition of the next education model for innovators. I don't think there is a pathway. I don't think there is a kind of consolidated model that we can see in education trends. But I think nowadays, really, though, those elements are shifting. For instance, you can learn quite a lot online and then enter in the university. Or you can learn quite a lot online, innovate, and then enter in universities to establish a network and to help your network to grow. So the path is it really depends on you and the kind of innovation that you want to put on the table. But this raises questions about the role of universities. Are they going to disappear in the future? It's hard to say. I think they're losing their relevance, and those universities that don't keep the pace are definitely going to disappear. But I also think that it depends on what we want from the future. I'm Italian, so I'm proudly European, and in Europe we always say that we have the oldest universities in the world. That's not true because they're in the Middle East and Northern Africa, but in Europe we say, oh, it's ours. So we like our universities. But I don't know to what extent they're going to stay relevant for the future. What I'm going to give you today is few ways for you to interact with universities and few ideas on how universities can stay relevant, because we are humans. We like to keep things as they are, but we have to keep things as they are only if they're useful for innovation. So, if you work with universities, work with innovators. Don't stay in your own academic bubble. Work with innovators, especially in the STEAM research, because when you work in STEAM, sometimes conducting research is expensive, especially in the corporate environment. Universities can do that. So work with innovators and work with them to create new opportunities related to the added value that universities can bring. Then, if you are an innovator yourself, share your network with the universities. Work with universities because you can identify great talents in the university context. You can work, maybe you can teach a course, you can work, I don't know, with the university accelerator or with some kind of ecosystem that works around the universities. And in this way, you can really identify talent and attract talent for your own projects. So that's another way you can work with university as well. Again, if you teach at the universities, I know that some of you were raising the hand when I asked, encourage students to be curious, because without curiosity, without this kind of feel of learning more, you are really losing the focus of higher education. And by higher education I mean like something that needs to be on top of basic education. Curiosity is the key, and the curiosity is really what makes possible to shift from a focus on what to learn to the focus on how to learn. And last but not least, be aware that online learning is here to stay. No matter what we see education, no matter what how we see skills development, online learning is not going to change. So if you work in higher education, if you work side by side with education, be aware that online learning is here. And think about the new innovation that AI can offer, especially when we talk about personalized education patterns. I think we are just at the beginning of a new era in which AI will allow a lot of online courses to be much more personalized. So I think this is really the future, and universities need to adapt or die. Okay, so there was a last slide, probably it was cut, but I will stop here because I was talking too much. But if you have any questions, comments, or you want just simply to say you are saying something that is simply not true and want to question my ideas, please feel free to do that. And thank you so much. Any questions, comments? See one there.
Okay, thank you, Andrea, for your wonderful presentation. My name is Matt. I'm from Thailand. I'm a university lecturer. I'm teaching social science theories and methodologies. Many times we were asked, by the university that your, department is not really, making a profit for the university, and there's less and less number of students, enroll in, social science and humanities. And the university really wants to close down, the social science and humanities department. So what would be your recommendation for social science and humanities field study, in order to survive? Because we cannot really, it's difficult for us, to, how can I say to the university, okay, how can we make profit for university, something like that. Thank you very much.
Maybe I collect any more questions, or
you're going to collect them?
Yeah, collect a couple of them and then I will just answer.
Good morning, sir. I'm Ruth Recto from the Philippines. So I'm currently working in an NGO for education reform. So in the context of the Philippines, if I may share, there are different education pathways, and I agree to what was indicated in your slides that there are losses already in the higher education institutions. Maybe in our local context, it's because not everyone can afford to go to college. And so we have this thing called different education pathways where we target some of our high school students to at least finish their K-12 and then eventually land a job, or they might go to alternative learning systems or enroll to a technical vocational skills, tech voc skills, and then land a job. But some of these alternative learning, they tend to, after they graduate and then land a job, they tend to go back to higher education. And so my question would be, since it entails different pathways for all of the students, depending on their situation, how should the government and HEIs or higher education institutions work together to avoid further losses, or eventually the worst case scenario could be like what was mentioned, school closures? And how can we foster the advocacy for lifelong learning?
Maybe I can start here and then we go to more questions.
You will answer just two and
then we go. Yes, because those are very broad questions. So I will start from the social science, because I was a student in a social science department. I studied political science, so it was my major. And when I look back at the past, I think that social science was really like something interesting and useful to study for anyone. But nowadays, Sometimes I question that. Why? Because in many social science departments, the focus on hard skills is not the core of what people learn. You might learn a lot of theory, you might learn a lot of qualitative analysis, but the quantitative element is not always there. So my recommendation for you and for your department is focus on hard skills. And by hard skills, I mean technical skills. I don't think any social scientist nowadays can find a good job if it doesn't know data analysis, if it doesn't know how to program, even basic programming. But I think really that the social science departments of the future need to focus on hard and technical skills and provide them in the curricula. It's not enough to give elective courses. The core of the social science of future should be on technical skills, and they should be part of the curricula. I think the students nowadays, maybe they don't fully understand why they're important, but they definitely understand when they look for a job. So that's my recommendation for you. Focus on technical skills, particularly data analysis, because data analysis is something that it's really complementary with social science. Now, how to support higher education. So as I said before, the rise of cost is a problem that every student in the world is facing. Going to university nowadays is getting more and more expensive, and for a country like from this region, for instance, that's going to be even more challenging as well. And I think that it's kind of chicken and egg question on how to approach that from the governmental perspective. I want to focus maybe from the other side, from the university perspective. So I think the universities should offer more personalized pathways, because in the past it was very expensive to offer personalized pathways because you need more professors, you need more infrastructure. Nowadays, with online courses and with AI, it's really possible to offer personalized pathways, even at a very low cost. And that's how I will approach the problem. So if the problem is that students are dropping out or students don't enter in a kind of lifelong learning mentality, personalized pathways through new digital instrument is the tool to do that.
Great. Can I add something as regards the concept of how to bring, let's say, a more competitive or a more commercial approach to this type of learnings is to add cutting-edge technologies in the mix. So if you have all these social sciences that people don't understand that they are crucial in moving forward, you can add things like data analytics, as very well said. You can add how to train artificial intelligence models through critical thinking, to approach different exponential thinking models in order to improve design of processes and all that stuff, that they have the base in your actual science, but if you mix it with all the hot trends and buzzwords, people first will understand and will understand the underlying value, and then they will start trying, because everything, imagine that we have a data analytics and AI curriculum, and inside of that we have ethics and philosophy. That, okay, this is a very classic one, but you need it in order to understand basic ethics when you're developing an AI framework. And when we speak about personalized learning, with these AI models depreciating so fast, it's really affordable to have, let's say, an AI model for your school that is compliant and have all the knowledge of the students and have some kind of assessment of each student in order to personalize the whole thing and create a pathway that is personalized. So you can find him during lunch break. Don't let him eat, ask him, okay? I want a huge round of applause, and let's welcome Chris for our next session.
All right, let's get started. How's everyone feeling? Is everyone hungry? I know I'm hungry. All right, let's do this. All right, so just before lunch, what I'm going to talk about today is all about what do you do on an individual level in the face of AI, in the face of artificial general intelligence. What can you do as students or early career professionals to actually prepare for this future of work? So what I'll be talking about includes career principle designs, personal branding, but also how you can use LinkedIn today to really maximize what I call your surface area of luck. But a bit about me, my name is Reese. I was born and raised in Hong Kong. I'm American, but now I'm based in London. Back when I was 16, I founded a youth-led nonprofit focused on project-based learning. So getting young people like yourself working on projects, building and scaling them, and creating a social impact for the sustainable development goals. Having since moved to London, I continue to be a social entrepreneur, community builder, and speaker. But more recently, I've had some interesting experiences at both the US State Department, but also the UK's Department for Science, Innovation, and Technology, focusing on exactly this idea of AI policy. And literally last week, I was at an AI safety conference in San Francisco, and among these sort of frontier AI safety researchers, you do feel a sense of worry. You do feel a sense of concern about the timelines on where we will reach artificial general intelligence and what that means for young people like ourselves in terms of jobs, in terms of opportunities, right? But why I sort of want to bring my own background into this is I am 21. So it's only been like 6 years, about 5 years since I founded my nonprofit. But what I realized when I first started it was it gave me access to extraordinary opportunities since then at 10 Downing Street with the World Economic Forum and so much more. And so much of the career principles and the guidance I received from mentors, I believe will be timeless in the face of AI. Career principles that will stand the test of time. But let's set the scene. Why is the current moment in terms of where we stand in AI different from the past 5 years, different from the past decade? If you might have noticed, there's been a recent wave towards not just AI and LLMs and sort of generative AI, but actually AI agents. And this takes sort of AI a step further, right? This looks like not just, being a co-pilot, something you can use alongside yourself, but something that fully automates workflows, right? Something that has memory, something that can go out there and basically have multi-step reasoning. And why that is scary, it means that a lot of this current AI agents, if you look at Y Combinator startups coming out from SF, are things that can fully perform a very verticalized task. So an AI agent that scans your CV and actively applies for jobs on your behalf. An AI agent that takes the role of a receptionist at a law firm, at any type of professional services firm, AI researchers that are able to automate large chunks of even consulting and early careers type of analysis work, right? What does that look like for the future of work? Now, what this looks like is we might, some say, be moving towards a world where there is this artificial general intelligence, and that is where we reach a point where there's this cognitive AI that exceeds human cognitive abilities at all levels. And that's a pretty scary thought. But the first thing is, when do you think we will actually reach AGI, right? And people have really wild timelines, but let's give a show of hands. Who thinks we'll reach it by next year? 2026. All right, 5 years? All right, 10 years? Okay, 20 years? All right, never. We'll never reach this sort of artificial general intelligence. Okay, we have like a few range of people across the spectrum. If you look at this graph, we have, since I guess 2017, a range of opinions that are moving closer and closer towards this type of like 10-year, 20-year benchmark. Jensen Huang recently, I believe, said we can achieve AGI in 5 years. That has severe implications on, again, early careers, planning and design, right? Early careers, graduate roles, and what we will be entering into the workforce. Of course, there's all these other risks as well in frontier AI safety research around existential risk, right? What if AI moves towards superintelligence that goes out of control? All the sort of speakers have talked about societal harms and impacts as well. AI-enabled human power grabs, there's a lot here. And in the face of all of this, it might seem overwhelming, right? You're like, okay, I'm just preparing for my career. I'm in the early stages of my life. I just graduated a few years ago. What do I do, right? I think a core chunk of it is building those AI-ready skills, those digital skills. But a large chunk of it, I think, is really future-proofing yourself by having this entrepreneurial mindset. So one of my favorite books is this book by Reid Hoffman called The Startup of You. And it's all about basically applying, and as I know a lot of you are entrepreneurs, the same principles you would do, like design thinking, lean startup principles that you would apply to business ventures for your own career. The same sort of opportunism, the same sort of communication strategies to be nimble, to be adaptable. But also, there's this broader range of what I call 21st century change-making skills. And when I worked at Ashoka, which is this network of social entrepreneurs, what they said is that we need a world where everyone is a sort of change maker. And these are the skills they articulated, right? This idea of cognitive empathy. So a bit like the exercise you guys were doing earlier today around deeply understanding user needs, right? Client needs. Secondly, fluid teamwork, being able to work across teams of teams, right? Not working in your silos or independent bubbles. Shared leadership, creative problem solving. However, I think there's an additional layer of career design that is timeless and stands, again, the test of time. And it's this idea of engineering luck, engineering serendipity. And you might ask, what does that actually mean, right? Have you seen some people where you're like, wow, they seem to be just lucky? Or have you seen people where they seem to get opportunity after opportunity after opportunity? And a lot of it could be, yes, they were lucky in the right place at the right time, but so much of it can be engineered. So much of it is something you can do in terms of maximizing your own potential. So here are some career frameworks to think about. But firstly, on personal brands. So here I have a picture of some famous brands you might know. How many at least recognize like half of the brands here? Right, big ones, yeah, you got Grab, some major Asian brands as well. If you think about it, what makes these brands successful is they are recognizable, they have a very clear USP, they have a visual identity. In the same way, personal branding, although it's been such a buzzword over the past 5 years, is literally applying the similar principles of how you design a company to yourself, turning branding principles to the personal. And fundamentally, it's overcomplicated, but what it means is simply your reputation. How are you being perceived? And it's not a new thing. If you look at, in the Middle Ages, if you were like a trader and you're bartering, if you didn't sort of sell high quality goods, or if you didn't pay your money back, you burn a bridge. That's your reputation gone. In the same way, personal branding has only been augmented, right, with platforms like LinkedIn, with platforms like social media, but it's fundamentally the same thing. It's repackaging what's already there, right? Who you are, what you stand for, what are your values. But why is this so important, right? So think about a world where we may or may not reach AGI, have these AI agents working alongside us. What makes you stand out? Say you have an AI agent, someone else has an AI agent, you send them to talk to one another, you sort of sit about the day, at the end of the day, you have this whole list of things that the AI agents have got done. And you're like, wow, what a productive day. But what's your role, right? And what I think is going to be so important about careers in the future, and early careers, is your reputation. Why would someone's AI agent, for example, in this scenario, want to meet with someone else's or your AI agent? Why is there that interaction in the first place, right? What is the human aspect of this AI cooperation that brings someone to want to work with you, want to collaborate with you? And again, that's reputation. And nowadays, we call that personal brand. But why does it matter, right? I think in an early careers angle, why it matters is it's an untapped opportunity to get access to internship, job opportunities, communities like these ones, building your network, speaking opportunities, leadership roles. But it's a way to really future-proof yourself in the age where we're going to have a job market flooded with agentic AI systems that can perform your sort of task, your job, at a sort of baseline level. So what is a possible scenario is that unless you're really a frontier domain expert, top 1%, the best at what you do, if you're like top 20% or bottom 20%, I argue that you'll have a baseline sort of common denominator amongst people's skills, their intellectual capital, their ability to produce output. A lot of it will be standardized. It will level the playing field, especially if you have these AI skills. But in the face of that, if your skills, your hard work, might not be the most important thing, what else can you do? And again, it's about building a reputation as someone who can be trusted, someone who can add value, someone who stands for something more than just the work they produce. This is one of my favorite frameworks. This idea is called building your surface area of luck. And it might look complicated, but it's basically two axes, right? One axis is around how good you are at doing what you do. And we should all strive for hard work. We should all strive for being the best that we can. But on this other axis, this y-axis, is something I think is less talked about. It's how good you are at communicating and talking about what you do, right? I feel as agents, sometimes we undersell ourselves, sometimes we play things down. But I think if you see the sort of ideal line, generally speaking, either you're just really good, again, expert, domain expert, top tier, world class at what you do, and your work speaks for itself, which is fine. AI will change that. Or you have politicians, perhaps, or a lot of folks who simply speak but not deliver. But the best axis and that sort of medium is being able to do both, right? It's being able to deliver, obviously, have substance behind your personal brand. It has to be something there. You can't brand something out of nothing. But still being able to really communicate your values, what you stand for, why you're better than that next person in terms of the job opportunity, in terms of sort of, again, marketing yourself. But another angle is to think about right now, in your life, in your early career design, are you engineering serendipity? Are you putting yourself in the right place at the right time so that your work, your communication about your work, actively gets you the opportunities that you want? And yeah, have a think about some of these. First one, again, this idea of luck. Good things always seem to happen to me. Does that apply to you? Do you often meet the right person at the right time, for example? Are you in multiple, perhaps, or diverse groups? Are you well connected in the groups that you are a part of, for example? Do you go to events where you speak to strangers? When someone tells you about a problem, are you able to actually provide a solution? Have a think about some of these, maybe check a few things off. Hands up here who could check off at least one. Yeah, I think quite a few of you are checking things off by being here at this event. But if you think about it, a lot of the people who are able to really take off in their careers is because they put themselves out there, but because, I guess in a way, they engineer this type of serendipity, what people perceive as luck. But what's more interesting about luck and this idea of putting yourself in the right place at the right time is there's compounding effects. That means you do something, it keeps going and keeps getting better and better. There's this upward hockey stick growth. So when you're able to build those habits, right, you get more and more and more opportunities, more and more access, and it becomes this sort of positive feedback loop that gets you where you want to be. And that means, in a way, your brand, your work still speaks for you even when you're sleeping. Even when you're not actively working on your 9 to 5, your brand is still working for you, right? So I guess the synthesis here is when you increase your service area of luck, when you're talking about the things you want to do, when you're engineering luck, it has this positive effect where, again, you have these success spirals. Spirals that will, again, help you maximize your potential. Another concept is this idea of upside bargains, and it's this idea around risk. So upside bargains is essentially, think about things that have like a 50% or less likelihood of occurring. So it could be you want to like cold message that person to give you an internship, or cold message that speaker to be a mentor, for example. You know, maybe there's like a 50% less chance that, you know, that might not happen, it might not be successful, your message might get ignored, maybe it's higher. But the upside, the sort of returns of that could be huge, right? It could be career shifting, it could be trajectory altering, it could be a massive sort of boost for your lives and for your careers. But because as humans we're quite averse to loss, we're quite averse to risk, we're like, they're not going to respond anyway, what's the point in trying? But if you think about it, if you build these habits, right, every week you're doing like 10 outreaches to people who you think will never respond. Even if 1 or 2 of them do, you have this uncapped upside towards, again, this single task that might have took you 2 minutes. So again, it's about building those habits, right? It's these things that may not happen, but if you do them enough times, you might get lucky, even though here it's hard work, and that can be absolutely transformative for your career. So back into early careers design, why is this important? I think there's a certain path dependency in terms of careers, in the sense you do something unless you have extraordinary willpower, and of course people change their lives around. A lot of these early decisions start very young. And that means now is the time to really think about what are the futures open to you? How can you make sure that you truly are able to maximize your potential and access this sort of red line to the very best version of yourself? And again, it's really not letting fate, right, or circumstance decide how you should live your life, but it's about having this agency, right, to self-define, to be able to make and improve yourself. Okay, but now back to branding. How do you actually do it, right? And again, applying similar company branding principles, you look at your positioning. I think a lot of the speakers have talked about superpowers, right? What makes you unique? What makes you fundamentally distinct from everyone else? Messaging, right? How do you want to communicate, right? What is the sort of frameworks you want to use? What is the tagline, right? When you're doing a 30-second intro about yourself, who are you? What's your brand strategy? So looking at how you get towards distribution channels. How do you get people to know about you? Ecosystem, so being in communities, networks, where you get yourself out there. Action plan, like actually having a plan. But specifically, these are some actionable how-tos, right? Content creation, actively speaking, hosting workshops. Of course, a few of you are content creators, so having that online presence, being across multiple platforms, taking on leadership roles, whether at university or in your job across affinity networks, networking, so building a system for these proactive outreaches, having a reputation for being able to deliver. But a very important one, I think, is around personal projects. It doesn't have to be a venture-backed startup. It doesn't have to be a grant-funded nonprofit. I've seen amazing cases where people have podcasts, they reached out to their first guest, and because the guest saw that in the span of just doing that first episode, they were able to market it, they were able to do client management in a way, they were able to do audio, video design. They got hired as a part-time marketing assistant, and this was like their first episode. So I think personal projects are a great way to differentiate yourself. It gives an excuse, right, for you to reach out to someone else. That's the best thing ever, is when you can offer value, right? When you ask for people's time, the fact that you're able to offer something in exchange, no matter how small, makes a difference. But also, of course, with AI, this is the thing I've been experimenting with, is I upload everything about myself, every article, everything I wrote, my profile, and I ask it, right, as a career coach in a way, what would the 5-year plan be? Best case, worst case, what are strategies, action plans? And I realized a lot of the times, if you think about it, your ChatGPTs and your LLMs can do a pretty good job at actually understanding you. Why is that? If you think about a normal career advisor or a career consultant, maybe at your university or elsewhere, hands up if you've had like a very positive experience, right? A lot of times, you know, they're time bound. It's like 15, 30-minute sessions. How much can they truly understand about you, right? You might give them your CV, they might do a quick scan, but they don't know your context. They don't know everything you've ever wrote. They don't know a lot about you, right? If you talk to friends or even mentors, everyone will always be at a certain vantage point, right? Their advice will always be framed by their lived experiences, their specific circumstances. So if you came up to me and asked me for career advice, I would speak to you from a vantage point of experiences, but it's still limited. However, with an LLM and with an AI model, you can sort of train it in a way, right? You can upload a whole range of, again, data about yourself that you want to share, and it can understand you in a way that isn't time bound, but it's also dialectic, right? You can engage with it, ask questions, ask it to brutally criticize you as I've done, and it can do a lot for you. So have a think about using AI to even plan out your own career. Another thing that I think is super underrated is this idea of community building. And when you don't have an event you want to go to, my advice here is to create the event yourself. So one thing I've been doing in London that has been super exciting is around curated dinners. And that's a real new thing, where instead of these big events, there's a big focus on hosting dinner parties and these curated gatherings. So what I've been doing with a co-host, and both of us were relatively new to London, is as we were building our brands, we were building our experiences, what we did was all the people we had coffee chats with, we invited them to this small group dinner. And instead of like a big networking event where you throw everyone in a room, what we did was we had facilitated questions. So questions that really asked and got to the root of who you are. Like, for example, if there was a newspaper article written about you and a headline was to say something about you in 10 years' time, what would it be and why? If you had absolutely no fear in your life, what would you do and why? So a lot of these deeper questions. So we did a lot of these dinner parties, and by the 6th one, we've done versions of this where we had people go to like 5 different restaurants and come back into a larger group. And that network effect, we did a feedback survey, got 4 to 5 deep, meaningful connections from a lot of these gatherings. A lot of them caught up afterwards. And the fun fact here is there's no barrier to simply doing this yourself. No matter how small your network, you definitely know people. You know people here. If you're physically in the same place or even online, you can easily gather people, create your own spaces, right? You don't have to wait for the next event, the next sort of gathering. You can create your own, no matter how small. We started off with single sort of 6-people dinners, and we're able to scale it from there. But there's this also concept of seeing people clearly, right? When you're doing these one-to-ones, when you're actually meeting these people, think about the people you know as friends, people around you. How well do you truly understand them, right? A lot of friends you might meet at university or work, you understand at a surface level. But to really build those deeper connections, you need to think about how deep are your relationships, right? And there are some ways to really build that: active listening, being curious, creating systems for following up, active outreach, for example. Now, last but not least, LinkedIn. Who here has a LinkedIn? Hopefully it's everyone. All right, okay. Amazing. If you don't, you have to be on it. I think, good or bad, the sort of workforce and the way this idea of personal brand has evolved has almost demanded that we are on it. But if you think about the sort of innovation here and what LinkedIn has done, it's really quite impressive. If you think about it, the CV was once a traditional private document, right, that you handed to an employer. LinkedIn has basically transformed that such that your profile at any given point in time can be viewed by millions. And that's a daunting prospect, right? You're like, why would I want millions of people to see my profile? But that's also an opportunity. It's an opportunity, again, to promote your brand, what you're selling either for service or in terms of as an employee. But that means there is a pressure to be on there. If you're not on there, it's always slightly concerning, unless, again, you have an alternative platform that you're really building out yourself, or in industries that don't require a digital online presence. But there's some misconceptions, right, around LinkedIn is only for working professionals, right? There's this misconception that if you don't have much experience, there's no point building a profile. But nowadays, having a LinkedIn is basically an online portfolio for yourself. You can do it else through other platforms, right? Build your own website, through TikTok, other social media platforms. But it's a portfolio of what you've done, essentially. But some basics, right? Make your profile and cover photo stand out. You should have a profile photo. People should be able to recognize you. You can customize your LinkedIn profile URL to make it easier to send and for people to click on. Catchy profile headline, always a good one. Writing a good summary. A lot of people opt to just not write a summary at all. Not very helpful if you're trying to better understand someone. Skills and experiences, media files. But here's some advanced tips, right? LinkedIn, in a way, again, has open sourced career intelligence, because you can look at peer profiles, right? Either in your country demographic, either in your university context, in your workplace context. You can map out career trajectories from a 5 to 10 year timeline. Look at people you admire, mentors, advisors. How did they get to where they are now? And a lot of people, keep their old experiences on their profile. You can literally see what are the fellowships they did, what are the opportunities that tapped into, what is the roadmap that got them to where they are. It's not obviously a full picture. It's a pretty good one. You can look at also creating a system for one-to-one outreach is, right? You're not bound by geography. You can be cold emailing someone in San Francisco, to London, to Hong Kong, to anywhere in the world. It's a pretty massive sort of upside, right? Underrated features though, right? This media section, actually posting, there's a lot more you could be doing with the platform that you should be doing if you're not already. So, short interactive activity before we move on to Q&A. Whoever is sitting next to you, if you're not already, connect with them on LinkedIn. There we go. 2 minutes, 2 minutes. Let's do it. Yeah. Good stuff. And of course, another advice is, after the conference, you might not have had a chance to talk to everyone, maybe all the speakers, maybe people beside you. Do follow up, right? Create a system to actively catch up online. Stay connected. All right, how many of you have made at least one new connection just now? All right, 2 new connections. And the QR code feature is pretty good. All right, so before we jump on the Q&A, just some final words then. So what I hopefully communicated to you guys today is that, yes, a lot of AI, agentic AI, is going to transform, as all the speakers have said, the future of work, right? Digital transformation, that's going to happen, whether you like it or not. What you do on an individual level, though, is you could be doing a lot of things. You have agency. You have the capacity to define yourselves, to make yourselves lucky, to be able to access the opportunities that you want. So hopefully, you have a few good insights into, again, how can you really maximize your service area block and reach your full potential. But yeah, in terms of how to reach out, add me on LinkedIn. Feel free to catch me later. Happy to do sort of one-to-one calls as well. But again, most underrated advice is try use ChatGPT or some other platforms and play around with it to see what sort of career advice it might give you. All right, thank you so much, everyone.
Do we have questions? I see a hand here.
All right.
Great presentation.
Thank you so much.
Again, wonderful presentation. I'm also 21, and I was in awe of how you brand yourself, but also branded on substance, right? And I think you brought a very important concept of engineering luck, and I want to hear it from your own personal story. Share us a little bit more. What is the threshold of putting yourself out there to the point where you find yourself in a position that luck keep coming to you? Thank you so much.
Yeah, that's a great one. So again, back when I was 16, I founded that nonprofit, and the experience was from a mental health charity, where I realized I enjoyed working on projects. That was so fun. I wanted to bring that experience to other people. So it's around project-based learning. But that was quite transformative. So that one decision I made at 16, right, to start this thing, I think in many ways shifted the trajectory of my life towards social impact, towards a lot of this career design work, education, delivering workshops in schools. And I never thought about it that way, right? But that one step helped me spiral towards meeting more people, being in places where I want to be, and able to make those outreaches. But when I got to London, for example, a new environment, new space, I'd reach out. I did like 50 to 100 of these coffee chats in my first year of university, where I was just like talking to people, right? Super low bar to reaching out. I was just like, I'll talk to anyone. Love learning from people from like such wide range of experiences. And so many of them became collaborators. One of them became a co-host for a lot of these dinners, another one of them, and all of them are now sort of connected in this space as well. They're all working with one another. It's almost sort of this ecosystem building effect, and it's all because I did this coffee chat for 30 minutes because someone sent me a LinkedIn message or I sent them a LinkedIn message, and so many of the relationships I have now, so much of my life now, my social life, my lived experience is because of these, again, upside bargains, these one-off things that radically altered, I guess, my own trajectory.
Do we have any other questions? Okay. In case you didn't start at 16, you can start now, okay? So it's...
And I've seen people in the span of 1 year completely change their lives. Like,
Okay, thank you for your insightful thoughts. I have a question. As social media users, we see a lot of influencers right now, and I want to be one of them, actually. And as humans, people make mistakes, right? Or even get involved into scandals and stuff like that, and sometimes leading to a cancel culture. Okay, and what do you think, and how can they recover from these mistakes to regain their personal branding and to gain the public trust again?
Yeah, that's a great question, because you know, once trust is lost, it's hard to regain, and you see people's brands completely sort of dissipate in the span of a single action. But I guess the general sort of advice here is you have to be authentic, so your brand has to be true to yourself. But also, I guess you need to be hypersensitive in a way, right? You have to be aware of your actions. And in a way, we're all forced to be public personas, whether you like it or not, right? Like, your actions have consequences. So I think that's one. Preventative, right? Being aware of a cultural understanding, other understanding towards your actions and the consequences that might happen. But I think the other part is, if you see the success stories of examples of like successful brand recoveries, I think a lot of them is around the apology actually being genuine, so not being PR prepped, media trained, and it actually being sort of a genuine sort of apology, but also having a community that I guess is supportive, so a community around you that I guess sees beyond that one mistake and is able to recover from that. So I guess it's also the community you build around you, right? Because there are communities that can be very vicious and very unforgiving, versus communities around you that maybe are more focused on personal development, more focused on other things as well. that are able to better understand you. So I think it's a few things. One is prevention, being hyper aware, I think, in their age where everything is being digitized. If you think about it, yeah, like 50 years from now, you'll still have digital records of what you were doing at 20, right? And that's like something pretty weird if you think about how this is never a thing like 10 years or 20 years ago. But secondly, I think it's that authenticity.
Any other questions? And you can start by acknowledge that every conversation is a public conversation. Yeah. So everything that you say or do is a public thing, even if you are between you and your mother, okay? So every conversation is a public conversation, and you need to stay true to your values, and you need to stay genuine in every conversation. If you say something that it's not true to your values, even if it's a thing that you feel like a private conversation, it's not, okay? Any other questions before we go to lunch? Okay, a huge round of applause.